scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to the 51st episode of the Deep Fried Neurons podcast. And glad to be still doing this, I guess. And, well, happy Halloween! I made a Halloween special episode with urban legends because I missed doing them. Not that anybody asked for these. But more interviews coming, I promise. I'm pretty sure, I'm trying to arrange more and more guests, but you know how it is, scheduling, and it gets more frustrating if you're trying to do interviews. You can't do this as frequently. So, yeah, let's just cue the fucking... Hello, my lovelies, and happy Spooktober, even though the meme is almost dead. And, well, today I wanted to spook your kids out because I haven't done a spooky episode in so long. When I was doing this podcast a year ago, I thought all I would be doing is spooky shit. But that's not how life works, and I'm glad, actually. I get to do all the content I want, and my audience is very accepting of that. But at the same time, I miss bringing the spook to you guys. So today is a spooky special. And this is an urban legend, which are the type of videos I genuinely miss because they do well. Not to say that that's the only reason I'm doing this, is because it's genuinely interesting as well. So today's spooky villains, or today's spook, is centered around something that children should actually be afraid of the most. Not to say that they're not afraid of these, but kids, if you're listening, I'm going to tell you something that most things that you're worried about, or most things you're extremely afraid of, your parents can protect against, and they think are worth prioritizing, especially if you are middle class and have at least one of your parents alive, or live with both of your parents, or, basically, most middle class parents understand most of your fears as a child, and then sometimes as an adolescent. I'm not going to be too sure. And altogether, most things that you're afraid of, they're gonna handle a little well. A little well. I'm gonna have some faith in your parents. But there's something that they're gonna consistently gap protecting you against, because it was never a problem during their time, or if it was, then they never realized it, or it's just such a nuanced problem that it's not something that's solvable, like always. So I'm just gonna give you a little bit a shit in your pants type of a moment if you're very young about that shit. But most of my audience is old enough to not be bullied in school, but be bullied somewhere else, the playground, the office, something like that. And I'm pretty sure they're fighting it well. Hang in there, fam, if you're going through troubled times. That's not what this podcast is about. Anyway, so today's villains are bullies. And bullies make for good urban legends, and they deserve them, because they were my villains. Not that any of them needed to go to jail, but I really hated them during school. Most of them turned out to be reasonable people later on, which is great. So yeah, bullies. Now, this urban legend came to me already in my prime bullied years, which is 6th grade and 7th grade. I mean, 5th grade and 6th grade, really. And it was told to me by a friend's elder sister, who was sharing a ride to the school with us. And, oh well. Now, I genuinely believe she just liked freaking kids out. I mean, I would at that age. I still do. Not that I do it, but dear God, do I like scaring children. So this story is coming to me is somewhere around 2009, 2010. And you have to know something about India at the time, that it was culturally at least 5 years backward. So this is very aggressively mid-2000s type of territory where the people take themselves very seriously. So it sounded very believable at the time. Now that I've gone through one of colleges, I know how college works, and the story seems less probable, but however, at the time it seemed reasonable. To be honest, even to this day, like if you heard some of my friends talk about college, dear God, would you hate it? College drama is a real thing, and being stupid in college is also a real thing, even culturally. It to this day in most colleges, which is quite sad, but well, kids are being kids right now. I don't know what the solution is. We'll find it. We'll find it together. Till then, we will explore this urban legend. So, now I was told when my brother was looking for an admission in a medical college, a story, a horror story more specifically, which is based on true events. Uh, that was that happened in a college in proximity where my brother was most likely to go. But after I got old enough, I understood that's how urban legends work. Uh, and I was told that there was this girl from a fairly reasonably good family. Like she was very well to do. Her father's a doctor. She didn't really earn her spot in medical school, and her dad was paying for it. Is was the sort of deal that she was coming from, and that happens pretty often. People pay their way through medical degrees, sometimes even buy their eligibility for a medical degree altogether in this country, which is controversial. And oh well, so this girl was already not liked by most people who worked their way up in college or whatever. And these people were now interacting with her as her seniors, like third years, where she talking to a fresher in this college in Nagpur, which is where the story was set at the time, and which is why it's so believable to this day that it happened in the mid 2000s. Now, these are college kids who take themselves very seriously, and the authority of a college senior is a very real thing in a medical college in the mid 2000s. And this girl was subjected to it. She was stopped on her way to class and she was asked to introduce herself. And she said, if you're so eager on class, then prove your eligibility to be in there and answer our questions. And they took a viva like the seniors they are. To them, this is still in good fun because, I mean, I don't believe that they're actually caring about what happens to this girl or how she feels, as it is in the case of most bullies, and that is who I see them to be in this case. So they're just taking her viva, and she says, well, the library is open if you want to ask these questions. I'm a fresher who's trying to learn medicine, so this is very counterintuitive. And then the people thought she was too entitled and extremely arrogant. And in their right, that's exactly how arrogant looks like, from what I understand. And because she was being so arrogant, they escalated the fight as to, like, they showed her what her authority is and that what their authority is and how she would not get notes or college support or uh, in general fresher support that seniors do in college as a result of her arrogance, and she was fine with that. So she told them to fuck off and she went about her business. And a child of dissent that's entitled is not really looked upon very kindly in this scenario. Eventually, one of the seniors hit on her, not knowing who she was, and she turned him down. Not only uh, turned him down, but she humiliated him publicly. She practically told him that he should try those lines on his mother or something along those lines that I don't really remember all that clearly. And after that, our boys, because they thought this girl needs to be taken down a peg, thought it was a good idea to steal a hand from a morgue, keep it under her pillow, and then lock her inside the room. So the moment she entered the room, the lights were turned out, and her roommate closed the door and she ran out. And then she called everybody in, and they all gathered outside her room, waiting for her to discover the hand. And well, they did discover the hand, and well, she did discover the hand, and well, she screamed like a normal person would. And then they were all laughing outside, and they were telling her to fuck off, and they were telling her, taking her down a peg, showing her place in the social staircase of this college. Exactly. And then all of them said she needs to cook for a while to understand that she should be quiet in front of us. So they leave her alone, and all of them go to sleep. And all night she's in the hostel, completely alone, with a dead man's hand in her room that she's discovered. The next morning, the guy realizes that it's 7 o'clock, who was rejected by her, and all of them open the door, and they realize that she's not in the fucking room until they see her sitting in the Indian style right above the door in a little cupboard, and she's laughing manically, and she's got blood smeared all over her face, and already the kids are horrified. And she pulls the hand up, and turns out she was eating it all through the night. And at the time, I was led to believe that she's got a psychological disorder resulting in dissociation from trauma or something like that. Like, that's my reasonable assumption now. But they told me that she was possessed by this hand. She went crazy, and she was never the same again, and her life was ruined throughout and throughout. Which is why you should always behave in college. Was the moral of the story that I was given. And people won't treat you kindly just because you're special. Which is true. They're not necessitated to, and you shouldn't be entitled. But well, I don't think this is how exactly a lesson is taught to people. Anyway, so they bullied her into craziness is basically the story. And apparently the dude was suspended, and his identity was protected. Nobody wrote articles about it that I could find ever again, until your boy sat down for the last week and found what this story is from. Now, I'm not talking about the 2011 film Hostel, with the story by Manish Gupta. That's a completely different movie, and I haven't seen it. But I mean, it's pretty big. Like, it's the one. It's from the guy who wrote Sarkar for RGV. And oof. That's not the film. That's a tangent that I've taken. But this urban legend was stolen frame to frame from an FTII student film that was released most likely in 2005, which it actually says right before the movie starts. It starts with this scene where a kid is talking to his friends, and he's telling them, she told me to fuck off, dude. And then the title comes, and then, well, it's based on true events, is written on the screen, which I hope is true, because otherwise somebody's caught up in a lie, and I wouldn't really appreciate that. And then the entire story unfolds exactly as I heard it, except it's not an LMC. It is in a medical college, and it is being done to a girl, but it's a really badly made movie that is available on YouTube. The original link has been taken down, I assume, for the reason that I'm going to tell you next, because Rajkumar Rao is in it. Rajkumar Rao did the student film, and it went viral at the time, as it could on WhatsApp, I'm assuming, because I saw the film the first time in 2012 on my brother's computer. It was in some hidden folder or something like that. It was an urban legend thing, and she was eating this hand. It was a really low quality film shot in 3:4 aspect ratio, which all the more was scary for me at the time. But now I look at it, it's pretty hilarious. I'll leave a link down in the description to the movie. But I thought it is still based on the true events, though. Somebody did go crazy enough to eat a hand because they were ragged down to it for being too entitled. And so I looked and I looked, and I found a Hub Pages post from 7 years ago by Rajinder Soni about a similar story where the girl's name has been changed. And he's the one who is witnessing all of this. He's a witness to this entire story going down. And well, the woman does go crazy and she's eating the dead body's hand at the end of the story, nonetheless. But that wasn't enough. That's not evidence of something happening. Turns out there's a video called a 2005 Delhi ragging case, and it's the snippet from the same movie, just the end of it. Then there's another link that says True Story Mumbai Medical College Gone Crazy. That's on Daily Motion with the same movie. And I didn't find any real evidence of this happening in India. But the myth was propagated most likely because in the mid 2000s, Rajkumar Rao's student film, I say Rajkumar Rao's student film because he's the only recognizable face in there, but it's an FTII film. Like, basically that's where it started from, and it started going viral, and it started as a WhatsApp chain message, most likely. And then I found out that this urban legend goes back from there. Turns out the only reasonably placed source or reliable source that you can find on this is an article by Snopes.com. I mean, it's not very reliable. It's still hanging by a thread, but it's better than just rumors on the internet. I guess this is like they have mentioned dates and places and years. Apparently, a similar incident happened in a hospital near Bowel, Bogman, and another one in 1986. And a few collected to the internet coagulation of experiences on forums. Now, I generally want to call bullshit, but that's not fun. Not to mention, it's not very far away from the realm of possibilities. To be honest, any other urban legends that we discussed on this podcast are actually less probable than this one. And I think I should leave you with that. Stay spooky, my friends. Okay, kids, that's all I have for you this week. And well, make sure you subscribe to me on YouTube. Follow me on whatever Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Just make sure you're following or subscribing to this show. Thank you for listening. Support me on Patreon if you really like the content that I'm putting out. And more content coming soon. Most likely next month would be a little more irregular because I have my exams coming. So, yeah. Bye.